Oh, by the
to
way,
play.
we should do this, to be fair, because we haven't done anything about the West. I'm just going to take my moment to just crow for a moment. I told everyone, here's the one problem people have is this, Monty. This is actually why I do
The
like the
one
historian
problem?
thing. No, this is the main problem people have with esports history. They are incapable of looking at the bigger picture. All everyone does in esports is ride last week's results. So one of the worst examples I've seen is people forget when they began. You know, like I just said about T1 there, right? Look, I also thought they would be worse, but people were acting like they were going to be the T1 without Faker, but just with Faker thrown in there. They had no chance to beat anyone. Well, in doing so, you yourselves have missed your own narratives because that's not where they were 2.5 months ago. They were one of the best teams in the Korea, and it's just like you might have thought KT was a bit better, maybe Gen G's like a bit better or equal. Like in the same sense, I think one of the weirdest narratives was this Evil Geniuses one in LCS, bro. Look at the lineup they started this split with. Even if you're the biggest Revenge fan in the world, you didn't think the team was going to be top 2. That's like an insane overperformance. Like, to me, if you look at Evil Geniuses, one, they definitely benefited from a lot of the other rosters shitting the bed. People like NRG and Flycos were just bleeding out of the arse at the beginning of the split. People like TSM took a while to get together. Like, basically, it was only Cloud9 and Golden Guardians were like their true competition. Even TL was dodgy as fuck. Like, basically, everything was set up to make EG look good at the beginning. And mate, every, say, 2 weeks, they've just gone down and down and down and down and down. And by the end, this is why I hate that people don't put the context in. The actual story at the end of the split is mad props to Revenge, to fucking Kelsey Moser, to some of the people who are like Unforgiven. These are the people who get credit. Like, it wasn't actually in a world-class team, guys. There's no, if they'd have made Worlds, it should have been as 4th or 3rd seed tops. Like, this is not a team that should have been in the LCS final. So, like, I'm going to crow a little bit because everyone else just kept riding it like they're going to be really good. Like, I don't hate on, like, the squad. The squad did the best they could. I actually think they overperformed. The fact they were even in with a shout to, like, be in Worlds was pretty good. But I do think people rode this team too hard. Like, they benefit from other people's failures, in my opinion.
It's also that I think people have misdiagnosed a lot of the issues from EG. Like Jojo Pian, it was really easy to tell that he was playing well because they would often
probably his best player ever, right? Yeah.
I think he's certainly an MVP candidate, if not an MVP front runner. It's like him and Berserker, I would say, are the strongest candidates for split MVP. So it was very clear when they were doing well that it was through Jojo Pian kind of carrying these games. He played great. But I think people, especially, and I think it's going to get worse now in retrospect, because Revenge did legit have a very bad series against Team Liquid. Like, he got clapped. There's not really another interpretation of that. Summit put him in the grave. It was disappointing, especially to me, who is like somebody who really likes Revenge as a player and who has been, I've been one of his most vocal supporters because I think he's kind of very much underrated. Not to say that he's the best top laner in the league. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying he is a very valuable piece of the LCS because he's a native carry top laner who was on a bad team for a long time and looked good in many performances. And he looked good at various times throughout this split. But you also have to consider the other pieces he's dealing with. Remember that Evil Geniuses has been subbing Shaden and Armeo out in best of fives. He has no stability from the jungle position. Isla is bad, guys. I don't know how to tell you this. Isla is not a good player.
Remember that, Monty. Remember, let's just rewind a little bit. Remember on the first few weeks of the split? No, we were all supposed to be laughing at FlyQuest, like, look, they give away Isla. And everyone was going, I always knew he was fucking amazing. I even told you back then, I don't get it, mate. Like,
he was terrible on FlyQuest.
I don't get it still, boys. He's just not a good player.
He was terrible on FlyQuest. I mean, he is not a good support. And yes, it is impressive and a credit to Jojo Pian that he was able to do very well with questionable mid and jungle, or sorry, jungle and support.
Yes.
Which, by the way, is map control. Like, I don't know if you guys understand the game of League of Legends. Jungle and support are map control, especially with synergy with mid lane. Okay, so, you know, what are you supposed to do in this scenario? Like, yes, Revenge played some bad playoff games. Totally on board with you guys there. Wasn't his shining moment. But he was offered very little help on this team. And it was either him or Jojo Pian that was carrying most of the time when EG won. And so I still think he's an incredibly valuable player. And in spite of some ugly games that he had against Summit, I don't hold that against him. Summit is the king of the laning phase.
He had the worst possible matchup at this point. Like, the joke is, because EG themselves had to play C9 in the upper bracket. Everyone was going to lose that series. Their real problem is that TL got fucked by NRG. If they played someone else, think of any other team except C9, Monte. Revenge has got a great matchup against everyone else. He has basically, like you say, the worst. But the only person who can gap him is Summit, and he has all the resources to do it. Like, that's actually fucking brutal. Because I also agree with you, by the way. If I'm EG, the only pieces you need to change is jungle and support. That's it. The rest of the team's good to go. This is a good squad.
Yeah, and by the way, Fudge didn't have bad games versus Cloud9.
Revenge.
He didn't. Or sorry, Revenge didn't have bad games against Cloud9. Against Fudge.
No, he's fine.
He's fine. He wasn't the reason why they were losing a lot of these games. They were kind of like team-wide throws that were occurring. And they were developing early gold leads and then throwing them. So yeah, I think Revenge is fine. Unfortunately, he's going to bear the brunt of a lot of the criticism because he did get really badly destroyed by Summit in this series. But there's not going to be any kind of criticism, I guess, of like Armeo versus Shaden and the fact that the rest of this team just has to deal with multiple junglers in the same best of 5 like they did against Cloud9. And it was just Shaden who was in the entire time when they played Team Liquid. But the changes in style have been really difficult. Isla being not very good has been very difficult. So it's been hard, I think, EG. They're an incomplete team. They went budget. They got rid of Inspired. Not a great move. But if you want to save money, it's what you're going to do. And so here we are. They overperformed during the regular season. It seems like they got a place that they ultimately deserved within the playoffs. Like, it's hard to say that they didn't deserve to lose the games that they lost.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.